I would say one thing that stops people is a fear of the unknown. Like, well, I would do that, but I'm afraid it won't work. Or I would do that, but I might fail. I would do that, but it might be embarrassing if it doesn't succeed. And here I am, like putting effort and energies towards that. And so that's one of those things that's helped me develop other tools. Growth being one, focus is another, the flow of optimal confidence and concentration to achieve your ultimate success.
Yeah.
And so with that, you start with the end in mind. What does your ultimate success look like? So that we can really define that and make it real for you. So it's not something you're afraid to strive for and achieve.
Yeah.
But then how are we flowing your thoughts? How are we flowing your energy? How are we flowing your actions? And then building an optimal level of confidence. Confidence isn't always skill, but it's belief. So building that belief in yourself so that you're not afraid to fail,
Mm.
so that you're not afraid it won't work, so that you're not fearing what's ahead of you because you don't see the path, but you do see the end.
Hi, welcome to Say More Words, a podcast that was created to emphasize the human experience through stories. I hope that you come here to learn, to expand, and most importantly, learn how to say more words. Speak your story, speak your truth, boo boo. We're so happy you're here. All right, welcome back to Say More Words. I am so excited to have you in our space today, and I am so excited to have a guest on, one of my favorite people that I just recently met. And it was one of those instant, like, I'm going to love you for the rest of my life people. Very charismatic. This is Ace Curtis. And I'm so excited to introduce you to him. Ace, before we have you introduce yourself, though, and before I give you my introduction of you, tell us what the song of the day is.
Song of the day. So let's see. I've had a couple of songs playing in my mind. One is The Revenge by Joey Badass. So that's
Yeah.
just like, I'm coming back for the win, especially
Yes.
leading 2025. I definitely want to, come for that win. And then my other song I would say that's just been hitting right now is I'll Be Around, CeeLo and Timbaland. So it's just
Oh,
the beat on that one, and just like,
yes.
so that's getting me going right now. So those two are just constantly in my
I
head.
love it. Those are so good. Well, y'all, I met Ace. Ace lives in my old hometown of San Diego, California. And I had the opportunity to meet Ace a couple of months ago in Las Vegas when we both flew out to film a show for our friend Dave Meltzer. And so, first question right off the gate, Ace, who are you?
That's a great question. I'm still discovering that myself, but to give all of you some background. So my name is Ace Curtis from San Diego, California, as you mentioned. Um, I am one of four children. My mom was one of six. So one thing about me is that I love my family. My grandmother was one of 19. So I have a huge, huge extended family, hundreds of cousins all across the country. And the person I am today is definitely who my mom, my uncles raised to be. My mom was a teacher. She taught for over 30 years. And one thing she instilled in all of us was just principles. Leave people and places better than when you left them. Make sure you're always being polite and respectful. Make sure you're always being aware. And so for me, those are things that you carry with you. Being a good person, I know is all of our goal every day, but to truly embody that so that I myself am really carrying on my mother's vision that she saw in us as children. And so that's really me from a career perspective. I have a career in insurance, and I also am a motivational speaker. So that's something I'm really leaning into. Is being a certified life coach, motivational speaker, someone who really strives for personal growth and self improvement, and helping others get there, and then creating tactical solutions to help people meet those personal goals. So that's really me in a nutshell.
Okay, so I feel like every person who goes into motivational speaking or goes in the realm of helping others has kind of like this moment that helps them, one, to find themselves, but two, to it helps build your programming and where you're going. And so, as you say that you're helping individuals, right? Like, what does that mean? What are you looking to do to help individuals?
That's a great question. And so back in, I want to say 2020, right? The pandemic is hitting and we're all kind of not sure what is ahead of us from a personal perspective, from what the world is looking like, et cetera. There was so much happening at that time. And one thing I wanted to do was internalize and just focus on myself. How can I, at this time, when you can just, you're locked down, you're in your house, how can I be a better me in a different way? And so I reached out to people and said, hey, what have you done to grow? And they say, I'll listen to this podcast, or I've read this book, or I've just let time pass and, let myself heal over time through things. What I wanted to do was, because I have a process mind, I wanted to really grow in a way that was like, hey, if I do this and then this step and then this step and then this step, then I can reach this next step up. So looking at things as a lattice versus a ladder. And so that's how I started to develop, hey, what do I want to do for myself? And then afterwards, how can this help others if it can? And so that's what sparked me, was that opportunity really to just be heads down and internalize. And then as I've gotten into motivational speaking, I've grown into using words as acronyms to help people grow, so that I'm able to use that both in my motivational speaking and as a life coach. So one of my biggest talks is growth, goals, responsibility, ownership, a why that gives you a will to win, being tenacious, and then elevating higher. So when you think about that, that's a tactical way to grow: setting goals, being responsible and doing things with integrity, owning your results and holding yourself accountable, being tenacious so you don't have a passive mindset, understanding, I apologize, skip the W there. Understanding your why, so that you understand your will to win. Like, what are you doing this for? Is it for you? Is it for your kids? Is it for your family? And through that, being tenacious with that, so you're not being passive with your actions. And then when you bring all those elements together, you elevate that one step higher. And then you repeat that process: set your goals, operate with integrity, right? Own your accountability, etc. And so as I've continued down that path, it's really enabled me to grow personally, because I'm following those steps as well. And then I'm able to better connect with individuals as we start on their personal growth journeys.
And what would you say, like in the individuals you've talked to, whether you've coached them or they're people you know, or whether it's yourself, what would you say is the thing that is stopping the people you're encountering the most? Like, I mean, I know that there's multiple things, but are you seeing a consistent pattern?
Yes, I would say one thing that stops people is a fear of the unknown.
Mhm.
Like, well, I would do that, but I'm afraid it won't work. Or I would do that, but I might fail. I would do that, but it might be embarrassing if it doesn't succeed. And here I am, like, putting effort and energies towards that. And so that's one of those things that's helped me develop other tools. Growth being one, focus is another, the flow of optimal confidence and concentration to achieve your ultimate success.
Yeah.
And so with that, you start with the end in mind. What does your ultimate success look like? So that we can really define that and make it real for you. So it's not something you're afraid to strive for and achieve.
Yeah.
But then how are we flowing your thoughts? How are we flowing your energy? How are we flowing your actions? And then building an optimal level of confidence. Confidence isn't always skill, but it's belief. So building that belief in yourself so that you're not afraid to fail,
Mm.
so that you're not afraid it won't work, so that you're not fearing what's ahead of you, because you don't see the path, but you do see the end. And then that optimal level of concentration, so that you're understanding not just how to control your environment, but how to help yourself really be inward to help the flow outward, so that you're able to focus on what that ultimate success truly looks like.
So, how would you say that you support? Because, like I do this work too. And one of the things that I've been tackling pretty heavily over the last few years with some of my clients is vulnerability. And so, how do you tackle the layers of vulnerability it takes to be able to do this hard work? Like, and if you have any examples for yourself, because I know you and I have talked about in the past how in order for us to truly find this new version of us, right? The real version of us, the part that we had to like dig deep and find and excavate, um, it was a level of vulnerability. And so how do you work with people through that?
Another great question. I'm really loving this interview, by the way. So I would say the first step is really how deep, understanding how deep people are willing to go up front.
Mm,
So I think sometimes there's a mistake in trying to make people go too deep too
yeah.
quickly, or just when they're not ready or comfortable enough to get there. So I'm someone who really wants to understand, hey, where are you today? What are some of those things that have shaped you into the present? And then how can we go forward? And so in partnering with you there, I'm also someone that will trust first and will share something vulnerable myself.
Mm,
so we can build that connection and rapport. And then also hoping that maybe something in my story can help you with yours. And then as we connect, it's really just getting that one layer deeper. What level are you comfortable getting to? And then let's focus there and move that part forward. Because what I've seen is people have said, well, you know what? I've talked to my friend and they didn't help me. They said I have my back, right? They're going to support whatever I did, but that didn't actually help. I went to therapy and they were interested in my childhood and trauma that may or may not have been there. And that also didn't help me as much as I thought either. And then when I reached out to other people, they I wasn't able to have the thought partnership that I wanted. And so ironically, coming to someone like me as a life coach, where I'm not necessarily a stranger, but I'm not also a relative or a close friend or someone that's known you for X number of years. And there's a level of comfort to actually being more vulnerable in that space, to actually tell me like, hey, here's what's going on, and help me with this. Like, am I thinking about this the right way? Is this the right next step? And so I think that it's important for people to allow themselves to be vulnerable, to understand that that is a path forward, even though you feel like you're taking a step or two back into a place you may not always want to be and you don't want to live, and that's okay. We don't want you to live there, but definitely want to help you move forward from there.
And I think one of the most important things that you said in there is that you connect with people. And part of the reason why, the say more words space exists is because I want people to understand that you're not special enough to be the only person on the planet for something to happen to. Like, and some people take offense to that. And it's not in the sense of that what happened to you wasn't bad or wasn't hard. It's just that oftentimes we don't talk about it because we fear what people are going to think, what they're going to judge, and we fear that we're the only ones. And building a level and layer of trust in people is so very important to be like, hey, me too. Like it may not have been the same, well, not to do like the Me Too movement or anything, but like it's not the same, but I understand. I understand you're
Yeah.
hard, and here's how I got through my hard, and in creating that path, like I've already paid the tax, I've already done the work, so you might as well learn from what I did. And I think that's so very important. So inside of like the work that you do, are you working with individuals? Is there a community? Like how does it work if I'm somebody who is trying to tackle vulnerability? How am I going to do it with you?
Awesome. So one, obviously, reach out, connect. I do life coaching one on one. I also am building communities, and I'm building two different kinds. One is just around growth and mindset driven individuals who are looking to really elevate themselves, have a strong drive to really just achieve and go for excellence. And I'm building another community that's really centered around, it's a men's community that's centered around the topics, the concepts, let me say, of confidence and vulnerability.
Mm,
And sometimes in some ways, don't get me wrong, I know there's a lot of ego out there and a lot of that kind of stuff.
yeah.
But in some ways, men are afraid to be confident in certain spaces. They don't want to come off as arrogant, or they don't want to come off as knowing too much. And so they make themselves small. And that's not limited to men. But
Yeah.
in that community, engaging with individuals like, yeah, I've wanted to show or do more, but I'm afraid of what people would think or how I'll be perceived. So I'm making myself small and hopefully I can fit in and do this and that. And then on the opposite side of that is the ability to be vulnerable. And of course, notoriously, as men, we're not shaped and grown and molded to be the most vulnerable and open people.
Hmm.
And as I've talked to different men, they've shared with me how they have felt embarrassed to have this kind of conversation. Here's what happened in a relationship. Here's what someone did to me that really hurt my feelings, but I didn't want to say anything about it. Here's what someone said about me, and I didn't understand why they didn't come to me and why they felt like they needed to spread it around to the rest of the world. Right. And so these are things that they don't talk about at all, not to their friends or their family. They just keep that in, stay in their heads, and just let time pass and move on from it. So building a community, to your point, to say it's not unique to you, that type of thing that may happen.
Hmm.
And I may not have gone through the exact same thing, but I most certainly understand your hard. And here is a space that you can share where other people have had different circumstances, different things situationally happen to them that we can talk about, learn from, and then be able to move better from that space so that you don't feel small or that you don't have to necessarily open a wound
Mm,
to be vulnerable,
mhm.
but open yourself up so that you're having an open mind and open heart and a better understanding as you move forward. So those are things that are critical.
That I'm just gonna reiterate that phrase, "You don't have to open a wound in order to be vulnerable." That is massively huge because a lot of people think in order to be vulnerable, I'm gonna have to bring up all the past and all the things and all of the blah, 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 blah
Yeah,
in order to do it, and you don't. You don't.
don't.
And I think also in that space, having a men's community is so fundamentally important. We have I think women are natural community builders, and so women have tons of communities. There's tons of support. Emotional support is was first given to women than it was to men, and so there is a severe lack of support for men in the emotional world. Now it's getting better, right? There are better resources, and it's less of a stigma for men to be in
Yes.
therapy or to do all of this work. But there's also, as you said, there's not a lot of spaces for men to just be in community and have a safe place to have this conversation. So I just love, and that was one of the things that perked up for me when I first talked with you, is that you are giving men a safe place to talk about this vulnerability, to talk about confidence and how it affects their world, because it does truly affect every aspect of their lives. It's just ignored or pushed until last, or it doesn't show up until they have like a volcano moment where their whole world melts down and then they have to rebuild.
Sure. Cer- Certainly.
Yeah. So I love that you have this space, that you're providing it to all individuals, but also having a men's only space is just so very, very powerful and so needed. So kudos to you because that's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. It has been. And there's been some good stories to come out of it as well. As far as like just positive things. One, this was a friend of mine who ended up being his life coach for, and became a part of the, again, it's building up part of the community. And long story short, he had shared with me some different contentiousness occurrences that he had in his home with his wife.
Hmm.
And after just listening to everything, I said, "So I want you to do me a huge, huge favor. What I want you to do is say thank you to your wife, because it sounds to me like what you're doing and what she's doing, you both expect of each other, but you're actually not appreciating it."
Mm.
Now, we built a plan around saying thank you. And so I said, "Go home and tell her you've been life coaching with Ace," right?
Yeah.
And she's going to hear thank you a lot now. And so that way she doesn't feel like something's wrong, or, you cheated or you did something
Oh
and
yeah.
you're trying to make up for it.
Yeah.
And then also helping you understand the dynamics of how it's going to change. I said, so first, it may sound disingenuous because you're just saying it, but tell her thank you for making the kids lunch. Tell her thank you for taking the kids to school. Tell her thank you for putting away the groceries. Tell her thank you for all the little things. And then what's going to happen is it will start to become more genuine from you,
Mhm.
because you're going to be like, hey, hey, thanks, babe. Thanks for doing that. Hey, thanks for this. Then you're going to see that she's going to start reflecting it back. Start saying thank you to you. Hey, thanks, honey, for doing this. Thanks for running that errand. Thanks for the honey-do
Yeah.
list. And then you're going to see the environment in your household change, because your kids, you said you have to remind them to say thanks. Now they're going to see mommy and daddy doing it. And so now they're saying thank you.
Yeah.
And then after that, you're going to start to find reasons to be grateful. But now you're going to create an environment of gratitude, and it's going to change the dynamic in your household. And that was very, very, it's something small and simple,
Yeah.
but very, very successful for him. And again, something he never talked about. Something he felt like, I can't bring this to therapy because it's not really a traumatic anything, right? Something I feel like, I couldn't talk to my friends and family about, because it's like, well, they're just like, well, that happens in marriage
Yeah. That's
sometimes,
just the
there's
norm.
ups and downs. But, to have a solution and something that really had a positive impact, that's a very small example, but
No.
a very, very good one, because it really kept their marriage going. They're still together to this
Yeah,
day,
good.
but but it really changed the whole dynamic of the household.
And definitely not a small example because I'm sure it made a huge impact in their home. I think that's what's people think that in order to create massive change in their life, they have to do big things or it has to be this big show. And truly, it can be just as simple as gratitude and thankfulness and seeing how that changes the energy and flow in your life. And I'm just, love that I get to share this space with you. I love that I get to help heal people with you. I'm so very proud of you and the work that you are doing, because I know that it's not easy work, especially when you're trying to get to men. But what I know, as working with primarily women, that a lot of women wish that they had a space like this for their husbands. So, or even their brothers or their dads or their guy friends, whomever, whichever male in their life needs it. So I am just so very thankful that you exist. Can you tell everyone how they can find you?
Yes, most certainly. So you can find me on Instagram. My handle is at Mr. Ace of SD, and that's MRACEOFSD on Instagram. So please reach out to me directly there.
Yeah, perfect. Well, and y'all, I'm going to have all of his information in the show notes. So if you want to contact him, please do. This will not be the first time that you hear from him in our space. We will probably have him on in some of our conferences as well. Ace, I am, like I said, I am just so proud of you. I'm so glad that I got to meet you in Las Vegas very recently, and I am just excited for what the future holds for you.
Thank you so much. And I do have something to ask of
Yes, of
you.
course.
I would love to hear your song of the day. What's the song
Oh,
that's been in my, since we started out with mine, I wanted to close out with
yeah.
yours. What's your
So
song
the
of the day?
song, I am very much a when I get a song that I love, I play it on repeat over and over and over and over again. And it's not a banger. But Die with a Smile by Lady Gaga
Okay.
and Bruno Mars. I've been playing that on repeat. Like, I love Bruno Mars and I love Lady Gaga, so it's like my soulful turn it up loud and sing it loud song right now.
No, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
And I want to just thank you for having me. I appreciate, as you kept saying, appreciate this space. I appreciate this opportunity. I look forward to connecting with more people through this platform.
Yeah.
And thank you for what you do in creating a space yourself where we able to have more words and say more words, but in a way that really is engaging. And I just really feel like helps others. So thank you for
Hey,
this platform.
thank you. I appreciate you. All right, y'all. Well, we will see you next week. Make sure you check out the show notes so that you can get on Ace Curtis's calendar. We'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.